My name is Shelley Corrales, and I'd like to welcome you today to our quarterly membership luncheon. Thank you for coming. For those of you that attended the annual banquet a few weeks ago, some of what we say today may be a repeat, but I'd like to begin with an overview of the Chamber. And in 2022, the Greenville Chamber of Commerce gained 101 new members, which was a 17% increase from last year. So we want to thank Lonnie for that. Yay, Lonnie. We had 5,500 followers on Facebook and reached almost 152,000 people. Our website accumulated about 220,000 hits. We won first place for our newsletter at our state conference, so hopefully you get our newsletter every Friday from the Chamber. We had 27 ribbon cuttings, 6 business before hours, 11 business after hours, 4 quarterly membership luncheons, 2 member breakfasts, and 4 small business trainings. And of course, with our major events, we hosted our last year's banquet, our annual golf tournament, which is always a hit, business showcase and job fair, scarecrows on parade, Grinchmas, and a GISD luncheon and breakfast. Our auction and casino netted over $38,000. Yeah. And with these funds, we awarded a cash scholarship to CASA for Hunt County. We like to give back. Our Hunt County Senior Service Alliance brought in over $31,000 and serviced 325 senior citizens in our community with blessing boxes this past Christmas. So we are grateful for so many generous people that live here in our community. So we at the Chamber have been busy. I credit all these statistics, numbers, events, and fundraisers to a few people, which I mentioned: Lonnie Schoenfeld, our Director of Membership, Daniel Taylor, our Events Director, and then a special group of people, which are the Greenville Chamber Ambassadors. Our ambassadors make everything we do possible, and without them, our successes would be minimal. At this time, I would like to introduce to the stage our Ambassador of the Year, Deanna Bates.
Hello, my name is Deanna Bates, and I'm with Terry Driggers Realty Services. I am the ambassador with the Greenville Chamber of Commerce, and I was just elected as 2022 Ambassador of the Year, which I'm very proud of and I appreciate. The ambassador mission is to support the mission of the Chamber by strengthening the membership base through dedicated involvement, innovative thinking, and activities that support membership engagement, recruitment, retention, and membership growth. At this time, the Greenville Chamber of Commerce is looking for new ambassadors. We are looking for business employees as well as retired individuals. The ambassador program consists of professional chamber member volunteers that serve as public relations for the chamber. This group acts as an extension of the chamber to connect businesses, strengthen memberships, and enhance understanding of what the chamber offers its members. It is a great way to enhance your business or just be more active in the community. Our group meets once a month, and we help with the chamber ribbon cuttings and events like this. We are accepting applications now until March 31st. At this time, I would like to introduce the ambassadors that are here with us today. As I call your name, please stand and remain standing and until I ask you to sit down. Okay, we have Tammy Schaefer with Alltams Builders Plus, Sheila Elvis with Altrusa International, Beth D'Amato with Atmos Energy, David Weiland with Century 21 Patterson Agency, Holly Wilson with Greenville Parks and Rec, Katie Ridge with Cornerstone Insurance, Libby Daves with Family First Home Health and Hospice, David Ellis with Greenville Board of Development, Rose Hayden with Hunt Regional Healthcare, Debbie Sickles with Insurance Group of North Texas, Julie Spear with L3 Harris, Chasen Carpenter with Latson's Com, Liz Patterson with Prestige Intrica Insurance Services, Denisha Denny with Remax 3D Real Estate, and Trina Coldiron with Senior Center Resources and Public Transport. Roxanne Turner with Turtle Creek Financial Group. Please look around the room at this wonderful group that is standing, and if you have any questions about the Ambassador Program or would like an application for the Ambassador, please see one of these ambassadors, including myself. We would be more than happy to answer any questions, and thank you so much.
Before we begin, I'd like to recognize some people in the room today. Some more people. Please raise your hand or stand up, shout, whatever you want to do. But a great group of people are the Greenville Board of Directors for the Chamber of Commerce. And the first one I have up is Bonnie Stewart with Hunt Regional Healthcare Lab Solutions, who happens to be our board member of the year. Can you get that up? Holly Gray with Century 21 First Group, Chairman of the Board. Miranda Spencer with American National Bank, Beth DeTomo with Atmos Energy, David Weiland with Century 21 Patterson Agency, Katie Ridge with Cornerstone Insurance, David Ellis with Greenville Board of Development, Amy Wade with Greenville Education Enrichment Foundation, Sharon Booth with Greenville ISD, Mike McBay with Tourism City of Greenville, Lee Bowles with Hunt Regional Healthcare, Jason Carpenter with Latsons.com, Craig Driggers with L3 Harris, Vince Patterson with Prestige Integra Insurance Services, Trina Coldiron with Senior Center Resources and Public Transit, Greg Sims with Greenville Board of Development, Mayor Jerry Ransom with City of Greenville, and Judge Bobby Stovall with the Hunt County Judge. So you'll notice that some of these board members are some of our ambassadors too, so please give them a big welcome. Thank you for all they do. I also want to talk about our HCSSA Member of the Year, which is Trina Coldiron with Script. So she's on here. Is it not working? Okay. And then we also have our Young Entrepreneur of the Year, Taryn Moore with Moore Farms and Insurance. Our business investors that are in the room today that help us in many different ways are Platinum Investors, L3 Harris, Quality Care ER, our Gold Investor, Alliance Bank, our Sapphire Investor, American National Bank, Silver Investors, All Tams Builders Plus, Atmos Energy, Cornerstone Insurance, Family First Home Health and Hospice, GEUS, Hunt Regional Healthcare, and Solvay. And our bronze investors, Landon Winery, the Texan Theater, and Wildcatter Realty Partners. The Greenville Board of Development is in the house. We have Holly Gray, David Ellis, Tim Dooley, Jerry Morris, and Greg Sims. The City of Greenville City Council members are here. Mayor Jerry Ransom, Kristen Washington, TJ Goss, Kenneth Freeman, Terry Thomas. I believe that's it. And then we have our city manager, Summer Spurlock, our GEUS general manager, Alicia Hooks, GISD board members, Ann Haynes, Bonnie Stewart, Roger Livingston, Aletha Cruz, and our GISD superintendent, Sharon Booth. And we also have our bowl superintendent, Michael Goss. The Hunt Regional Healthcare President and CEO, Lee Bowles. Some county commissioners are in the house up there at the top. Mark Hutchins and Steve Harrison. Our county treasurer, Brittany Turner. Hunt County Judge Bobby Stovall. And then we also have a special guest with us today from the U.S. Congressman Self's office, and that is Michelle Bishop and Natalie Steinholt. And I'd also like to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Choya Shanahan with the U.S. Civil Air Patrol. She's right down here. We have a Hunt County leadership class going on, Leadership 2023, and they are here today. So could some of you stand who are in the class? Give them a big thanks for all that they do. They're getting almost to the end of their 9-month class, and they'll be graduating in June. Barbara, I'd like to give a big thanks to Barbara Haran for allowing the Chamber to hold this event in this beautiful venue that we are so proud to have here in Greenville, Texas.
Thank you. I'm on here. Am I on mic? There we are. I hear me now. Barbara, I'm Barbara. Welcome to my house. This is my craziness. I've been hearing a lot of people go, it's about time we have a coffee shop downtown. Y'all know you've had a coffee shop downtown for 8 years? Yeah, okay. So come visit me, come have coffee, have lunch. It is great, y'all. It's wonderful having y'all come visit. I love seeing this, and upstairs, it's lovely to have the whole room full. And before I built the place, when I had just bought the building, I went to a historic theater conference, and they said, one of the people said they were the living room of downtown. And I was like, that would be so cool. Living room of downtown Greenville. Just come here, hang out like you do in your own living room, have coffee, study. If I get too many people in the lobby, then I just put them upstairs or I put you in here. I've been known to show movies at lunchtime or shorts, The Munsters or Lost in Space or Land of the Lost. Any of those kind of things on the show, on the big screen so you can just chill during lunch. And tonight, I keep doing this, over at the GMA, I'm showing Catapult. Kids' tickets are only $10, and it would be awesome if we had 1,000 kids in there to enjoy live theater. So if you know some, bring some along with you. And watch for the cool stuff. I've started doing all kinds of things. I don't just do the expensive shows. I have shows that are, you pay at the door, and it's just for the music, and if you want to eat, you can eat and have coffee and stuff. But kind of a little bit different concept. But you pay at the door instead of buy tickets. And it's first come, first serve, and BYOB, and you just come and have a good time. So thank you so much for filling the house today, and I really do appreciate seeing you.
And then we would like to thank our sponsors for today. So I want to introduce Jimmy Dickey, Marketing Key Accounts Manager at GEUS, and our advertising sponsor today. And I'd like to recognize Jimmy because he is in the Leadership Class 2023, and I want you to give him a big round of applause because he has been at GEUS 26 years this week.
Who would have ever guessed that? Hey, I just want to take this opportunity on behalf of GEUS to recognize a group of citizens that I think don't get recognized enough, and that would be our board members. Of course, we're owned by the citizens of Greenville, Texas, and that's fantastic. You are our customer owners, but it's your citizens that, it's our governing board is a group of citizens, and it has evolved over the years, and we have had a wonderful group of past and current board members that as they leave the board, they become ambassadors for us and tell the good word. We don't have a lot of people show up at our board meetings, and so I think they sometimes go unseen, but they do a fantastic job. So I just wanted to certainly recognize the current ones, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't miss. The mayor is always on our board. Mayor Ransom is on the board. Victor Gore, Glover George, Secretary Treasurer, Ms. Bates, Vice President Sue Ann Harding, and then Chairman Greg Chesney right now. And they're doing a wonderful job. And then I also wanted any past or current board members, please stand up so we can be recognized. I see several. There's Mayor. There's 4 here tonight. We appreciate everything they do. Let's give them a round of applause. And then before I step away, I have got to acknowledge a couple of guys here standing with these referee shirts on. Oh, that's some weak whistles. We may have to rethink that. There you go, Paul. These guys have been practicing for 2 weeks on that, and that was all they came up with right there. That's kind of sad. They're here promoting an event that's going to be on April 6th. Greenville Kiwanis is putting on their first annual Superstars competition. That's everything from football, basketball, baseball, but most importantly, it will be Pants on a Goat, and there's going to be a celebrity match between Brent South and Jeremy Powell. So we need everybody to show up, participate, 6 or 7 different civic clubs. And the main thing is we're going to be raising a lot of money for Hunt County children. So y'all please come out and support us. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, could you come down here for a second? Our next sponsor that we have today is our main course sponsor, and that is L3 Harris. So please welcome Craig Driggers.
Welcome, everybody, today. So it's an honor to get to be here today. Craig Driggers with L3 Harris. Just kind of want to just spend a minute and talk about what we've all seen transpire over the last few years in Greenville, and that is the growth. That's the growth in the city. That's the growth in our businesses. L3 alone, I'm proud to say we've got over 400 recs open at the plant, and we're growing. But with that, I want to talk a little bit about partnerships. It's one thing to stand up and say, I work at L3 Harris and we're the largest employer in Hunt County. But it's different when you show it and you engage. We've got a partnership that we've been working on with Paris Junior College that we're really excited about. For those of y'all that keep up with aviation, over the next 2 decades, it's projected to have over 800,000 jobs in the aviation industry. So when you think about where Greenville is, I like to refer to Greenville as being in the hub. They have a friend, they have a neighbor 5 miles away at L3 Harris. With PJC, we've reached out to all 10 local ISDs here in Hunt County. We've worked to put a curriculum together. It's going to go in front of the state board April 1st. Once that's approved, that curriculum will be pushed back into all 10 of our local high schools to be able to offer training. As we think about our young people in the community, and to give them the opportunities, it's exciting to see the partnerships between the local ISDs, L3, and the city of Greenville. Jerry Ransom, Mr. Stovall, Greenville Board of Development, they have been over and above to reach out and work with us to try to form this partnership. Appreciate getting the opportunity to speak today and hope you enjoy your lunch. Thank you.
And then our table partner is Hunt Regional Healthcare and President CEO Lee Bowles. Mike, can you roll that video?
What does it mean to be by your side? Is it celebrating with you when times are good? Is it standing with you when times are difficult? Is it helping you get stronger? Growing together to meet new needs? And finding little ways to show you care? At Hunt Regional Healthcare, we think it's all that and more. Being by your side is about helping our friends, healing our neighbors, and caring for our families. That's why we're adding new facilities, new team members, and new specialties to do a better job caring for the community and the people we love. That's what it means to be by your side.
I always panic on Sunday mornings if the preacher gets up without an outline. So this is what this is for, just to keep me on task for a minute. I've been the CEO for Hunt Regional since November 1st of 2021. And for a long time, since 1992, I've been a hospital finance officer. So I always kind of, every morning knowing what my job was walking in the door was I was responsible for finances. Well, on that morning walking in November 1st, a little over a year and a half, almost a year and a half ago now, all of a sudden I was worried about quality and patient satisfaction and customer service and physician engagement and staff engagement and all the other things, that come along. And I had to have something that grounded me in making the decisions. It kind of came to light really quick. I had to have something that was kind of my guiding focus. And we lost a physician in our community lately, Sarah Lay, over in Quinlan. She said something to me the first time I ever met her when we were working on her becoming an employee of the district, was all she cared about was taking care of her patients first and doing it where she was at. And that has kind of been the underpinning of how I operate, just trying to put patients first, doing it through quality care and doing it close to home. And how we do that at Hunt Regional Healthcare is we make investments. We make investments into the community. And all you guys, if you've been by the back of the hospital or to the side, you've seen our new addition, $30 million addition of our Women's Center and our NICU and our additions to our surgery space. And now we're kind of in the remodeling phase of those internal areas of the hospital. So it's beautiful, it's state-of-the-art. People say our new NICU looks like a sick bay of Star Trek, and that's the honest truth. We honestly continue to make lots of investments that you don't even see every day. The thing I have always been proud about with our district is I've worked in a lot of hospitals in years past that were always worried about what cosmetically things look like. We worry about having the best equipment for our caregivers to do their job and to take care of patients. So we spend a lot of money on things like $10 million on a new electronic health record that we're working on installing right now. Our lab and our imaging centers all have just absolutely the best equipment that you can buy. And our nurses, we really take care of those folks to make sure they have everything they need to provide great patient care, because I don't want to hear about them not being in front of the patient and running the floors looking for a piece of equipment. So we make a lot of investments in those things, and now we're full. We stay full. We're always holding patients in our ER, so we're making some investments. We've moved all of the admin and support services off our 6th floor, and we're getting ready to start a remodeling project up there to add 18 more beds. And quite honestly, we'll fill those beds up just as soon as we open up the door. So a lot going on in those things. And this past Monday morning, I started getting text messages from our general surgeon. He was actually helping to unload the robot, the Da Vinci surgical robot, off of the back of the truck with the sales reps. So come Monday morning, we're getting into the general surgery robotic age, and that's also exciting times there. We also make investments in our urgent care. Most of you know we employ a lot of doctors now. We have about 25 physicians we employ, and quite a large number of those are primary care providers, and we employ pushing somewhere between 25 and 30 mid-level providers. So we have a large footprint in primary care. And we are actively pursuing and recruiting as many as 7 new primary care physicians for the community. And we're also opening up a bunch of urgent cares. We're under construction in Commerce, starting a project to put an urgent care in Quinlan, putting one in Fate, looking at other areas of the county, even areas outside of the county as we continue to grow. So a lot going on with those things. And we also invest in specialists. All of you know that we employ cardiologists now. We run our cath lab full-time. They really changed the nature of our organization about 6 years ago. We have a great urologist. We employ two new neurologists now, and we're taking care of stroke patients. And kind of a little thing that you don't really realize and not know is our ED physicians are our front door, and a little thing going on in the healthcare industry right now is a lot of hospitals are choosing to provide ED services with a lower tier, lesser trained ED physicians. We haven't done that. We have recently doubled down on our ED staffing and have the highest of trained ED physicians in all our locations, so it's really something to be proud of. But the most important thing we've done is invest in our people. And over the last 3 years of COVID, it was every day I was coming into the door and hearing stories of something new that we were doing that day, a new procedure in the OR. And a little bit of it was necessity, but we grew from it. You couldn't transfer patients out. It was difficult times. We're licensed for 167 beds, and we really can't run about 130 because of space. But there were times we had well over 200 patients in the hospital, taking care of them in the ER waiting rooms and in the OR rooms and in the hallways. But, our staff grew from that, and, we talk about things that went on during that time, and those people really were heroic. And our board was nothing but supportive. They allowed us to make all the investments that we needed to make in people, equipment, beds, and whatever we needed to do to grow during that time. And our facility has just done nothing but continue to expand since that time and prove itself over and over every day that we can do whatever we set our minds to with the great folks that we have. So it's a joy for me to go to work every day with such a great place and great people. It's an honor to be their CEO and president. And, we're working hard to make sure we meet the needs of a growing Hunt County. We're just growing together. Yeah, all our challenges every day we talk about it are centered around our growth, where a lot of folks are not that fortunate. So thank you.
We thank you for our three sponsors. At this time, I'm inviting Mayor Jerry Ransom to the stage to talk about the state of the city.
Well, my wife told me two things, is one, speaking to the mic and not tell any jokes, so she doesn't think we don't share the same sense of humor. But it's an honor to serve as your mayor, and it's an honor to work with the members of the city council who volunteer their time. They donate a lot of time to the city, as you know, and as well as to work with Summer Spurlock and her team. I like to think, and I think the city council likes to think, the city is a business, and when you think about that, we're really a conglomerate of probably a dozen different businesses, some large and some small, from the library to GEUS, which is really kind of a subsidiary of the city. And when I do these talks, I always like to mention the people. I always say people are our most important asset. They're usually the key to the success of any organization, large or small, and doesn't show up on a balance sheet. There's nothing there, but I always like to reach out and say thank you to our city employees and GEUS employees. Exhibit A was just a week ago, Thursday night at 10 o'clock. We had about 3,500 customers on the north and west side of Greenville that were out of power. And less than 11 hours later at 9 o'clock Friday morning, only 200 of those were out of power, and most of those had problems inside their property lines with switches and various things like that. So thank you for the citizens, or for the employees of Greenville and the employees of GEUS. You do a great job for our community to make us successful. Today, Hank asked me what I was going to talk about. I talked about kind of a Cliff Notes version at the latest chamber version, but I'm going to talk about a little bit about our growth, some of the reasons I think we're growing, what the city is doing to prepare for that growth. And then I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm going to look into and try to give you some projections about where our city might be in the next 5 to 7 years, maybe by the end of the century. So let me see if I know how to click this. Most of you know, I've talked about this, our census came in at just under 28,000, or just over 28,000 people. I think we knew it was 10% low because if you'll remember, there was a controversy regarding the census. I think some people didn't respond. And we knew from our water meters and electric meters and some of the other usage that we had that we were clearly probably at 30,000 at that time. Some of the other indicators we have, our sales tax the last 3 years has been compounding at a rate of 15% a year. And our total assessed value of our property taxes have been growing at about $200 million a year. We're approaching $2.7 billion in total assessed value for the city. And one of the most compelling things, and Shelley already mentioned this, she brought this up in the last city council meeting, is that the chamber grew 17% year over year. And what that means to me is we have a lot of developers, a lot of business people, a lot of people that are looking at Greenville and looking like this is the next wide spot in the road. This is where the growth is happening. And another thing I want to mention is the Texas Demographic Center. They have a formula that they put everything in to see how cities are growing. And for cities our size, if you take 25,000 and up or 30,000 and up, we grew 7.5%, and if you look at those cities, we're one of the fastest growing cities in Texas for cities our size. So that's why are we growing? I think you have to really look kind of at a macro level, first of all. Think about Texas, think about North Texas. We're a centralized location. We have international airports, 2 international airports. We don't have any sales tax. We have a friendly business climate, and we have a friendly, nice climate to work in. And there's a talent pool, and then obviously, you know, our cost of living is much less than other parts of the country. So I think when you open up the Dallas Morning News, almost once a week, there are 2 or 3 companies that you've heard of that have decided we're going to locate our headquarters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so that's one of the reasons we're growing. Why is Greenville growing? I think when you look at, we have jobs. People now can work at home. We've learned from COVID that people can work remotely, have people going to college at home. Our housing costs, I haven't compared it in the last 2 or 3 months, but our housing costs are probably, when you compare to a comparable home in McKinney, are $80,000 to $100,000 less. So we have affordable housing here. And index crimes are increasing all across the country. I'm not talking just about Chicago or California or San Francisco. Index crimes are increasing in Dallas too. I have a few friends who have moved out of the Dallas area that lived in nice areas, and their children once a week would hear a gunshot or something. And so I think that's driving some of our growth. People want to get out of the big cities. Quality of life, it's hard to quantify. I always put that on there. From my perspective, I wanted to live here and locate my business here. As my business grew, I could have moved my business, I guess, but I always wanted to be here. I was talking to Greg Sims about it the other day, and he said, you measure quality of life if you don't have a traffic helicopter. So we don't have one. But I think quality of life is something we take for granted, really. And I think when people get here, they enjoy what they see. And I hope that one of the things that we need to focus on, I think, as a city and our city council is, we're going to grow, but it's how we grow that's going to be important for our future. One of the things, too, that I want to talk about is accessibility. D and has passed out his road plan. We're going to start working on 6 lanes from Roy City, and I think when those start, I think that is going to spur some development over here. People want to live here instead of commuting from Rockwall or Dallas or wherever they come from. And then when the roads are finished, I think it's going to even be better. So we have 6 lanes coming, and I think 3 interchanges that are going to be there. So I think that's helping. From an education standpoint, of course, we have our private education. We have private, public. We have PJC. And we have a 4-year university here and I think that is something that's good. What I want to talk now about is we really over the years we have not focused on maintaining our infrastructure. And so what are we doing to get ready for this growth? And that's what I want to talk about this slide. So I want to talk about our raw water line briefly, our water treatment and our sanitary sewer treatment, our roads and street improvements, our public safety, and our airport, our general aviation capability we have. When you talk about water, and some of you have heard me talk about this, we get our water, if you don't know, from the eastern shores of Lake Tawakoni. There's an intake down at Lake Tawakoni, and that we get our water, and then it comes from a 21-mile line that runs basically parallel to Highway 69 all the way up to our water treatment facility. We had 2 droughts in the last 20 years. One of them was 2008, and one was in 2014. In 2014, the lake level was 14 feet low, and our intake there was 12 feet low. So it was a crisis for us. We were wondering, are we going to be able to get water? What's going to happen? My wife told me not to tell this, but I like to. Anytime an expert, I can prove an expert is wrong. I was driving to Dallas and listening to PBS radio, and there was a climatologist on, and he self-righteously said that the lakes of North Texas will never be full again. And in about 3 days, it was like 40 days and 40 nights, and the water was running over the spillway. So we can be glad he said that. But anyway, the line that we have is an old steel encased line. I don't know if anybody even knows how old it is. It's 60 or 70 years old. And it does not have enough capacity to serve our water needs in the future, and also it breaks. Anyway, in 2014, when it rained and filled up the lake, well, the crisis was over. We kind of forgot about that, but now it's become an issue, and the line breaks about 4 times a year. It costs our city $150,000 to $200,000 to fix those breaks. And also, our intake, which was 12 feet, has been moved. We've moved the intake out to a channel that's about 35 feet deep, so if the lake gets low again, we'll be ready for that. We're replacing the water line with a 36-inch fusible pipe that will be laid in a ditch. And with that and a sleeve for the current existing line, we'll be able to get up to over 30 million gallons of water a day. We've purchased some, or authorized the purchase of some of the pipeline. We'll get the rest, and we're cleaning up some of the right-of-ways for that. And we hope to have it installed once we get that in 12 to 18 months. We hope it'll be operable in 2025. When you look at water treatment, many of our cities around here, one of the advantages that Greenville has is many of the cities don't have enough water. We sell water right now to Caddo Mills and Shady Grove. And Caddo Mills just renewed their contract about, 18 months ago. And guess what? In about 6 months, they came back to us and wanted us more. So we're in a very good position from water. We're building a new we purchased land, and we're going to build a new water treatment plant. We have a good price. We have probably the lowest price for wholesale water anywhere. Lake Tawakoni was paid for, I guess, in the 1960s. These new lakes that are coming on, we buy a lot of water for about 13 cents, 1,000 gallons. These new lakes that are coming on, I don't know what it's going to be, much, much higher, the cost of the lake and the cost to maintain the lake. So we have plenty of water and one of the things we have too is we consistently win water awards with TCEQ. HP Hood, the dairy manufacturer that came here and purchased land, tested our water 38 times before they made a commitment. And they got a good report every time. From wastewater treatment, our current capacity is 6 million gallons a day, and we're approaching 4 million. We approached and achieved 4 million gallons, and when you do that, TCEQ requires you to start a design and get ready for the next phase. So we're starting the design. We're going to build it in 6 million gallon increments, so that as we grow, we'll be able to continue to do that and enable future expansion. Talked about roads a little bit. And we're not the only city that has road issues, but we were spending the last several years. We were spending $2 million. We'd started adding $200,000 to our road street improvement program every year, and we got to $2 million. And we tried that a couple of years, and we weren't. The cost of road construction was outrunning our ability to make a difference. And so we decided with low interest rates, what interest rates were, we were able to we were able to take the $2 million that we were using and finance a $50 million bond. We started that about 18 months ago. We've spent about, I guess maybe 3/4 or 2/3 of the money on street improvements, and I'll go through some of those here. But so what we did is we took that $2 million to amortize a $50 million bond and move those construction costs up and get that work done now at today's cost rather than over the next 10 or 15 years. Here's some of the roads that we did that we've done. Walnut with our 50 street construction, I call these connectors: Walnut, Stanford, Roy Warren. Carroll may not be, but Washington Street. And then we've done a lot of overlay work in those additions that you see. It's usually good. And one of the things we did too is ingress, egress off of Wesley. We've redone those intersections. Here's some of the other major road work we've done on Sale Street. The Roy Warren extension is just starting now. We finally settled our lawsuit with Traders Road, and we've done the repair on that we have, and then we've also fixed, I wanted to get a number for you, but I don't know if it's 100, but it's a lot of utility cuts and many, many potholes. And one of the standards we have on that now is when you drive over a utility cut, it needs to be seamless. You don't need to feel it. Sometimes we were fixing potholes and making it worse than it really was. And we've done a lot of drainage improvements too. We have some public safety projects that we had included. I don't know if you've been or visited the fire administration building. The conditions are abysmal. They have to keep blueprints of certain buildings, so if they have to go into that building, they're laying in a stairwell. If you haven't been down there, I think that facility was built in 1952, served as a fire station for a while, and now it's our fire. We don't have any place to train firemen, and so we're going to locate that. We're in final negotiations with PJC to locate an emergency management center and administration building on the PJC campus. And PJC is going to work with us to develop a fire academy. There's not a really good fire academy in this area, in this part of the state. I think the best one, from talking to Chief Powell, is it's in Carrollton. And we're going to develop an outstanding fire academy sorry, I'm behind, aren't I? Anyway, we're going to develop an outstanding fire academy. I don't know if Dr. Anglin's here today, but Craig mentioned it. She's working on workforce issues with aircraft mechanics. She's working on this and a couple of other initiatives. I just noticed that she's doing a deal with an engineering and 2 medical tracks with GISD. She's governed by Lamar County, and she's down here, and she's been a tremendous help to us. She really, really has. And I don't know if Dr. Anglin's here. If she is, I'd like to recognize her because she has really been helping us with a lot of things. We also have, from a public safety, we have a radio project, which we had an old radio that wasn't really even being maintained. It didn't work. It didn't provide citywide coverage. If an officer got out and was chasing somebody in the woods, well, he couldn't talk to anybody, et cetera. It wasn't interoperable between our police and fire. We couldn't connect inside buildings. If you had a fire in the Texan, well, you probably couldn't come in here, you couldn't connect, et cetera. So we're upgrading our radio system. We just, about 6 months ago, issued a contract for that, and we're in the process of upgrading our radio system. I want to talk too, I mentioned GEUS reliability. This has been a tremendously successful thing for our community, I think. It's the oldest utility in Texas, I guess you know that. But in Winter Storm Uri, we had the most any of our customers experienced was a 45-minute rolling blackout. That's the most they experienced. There were people right next door to us that were out of electricity for 5 days. So the reliability, our rates are competitive. It stands on its own bottom. I think I just want to reach out and talk about our utility and the people that work there. GBOD, can't underestimate what they have done for our community. In the last 5 or 6 years, they've produced $700 million in capital expenditures are committed to our area because of GBOD. And through that, they've created created or retained about 1,800 jobs. When you think about that, their budget's about $1 million a year. It's 7 years. For every dollar they invest, we've received a $98 or $100 return on that investment. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that business? And some of the people that they've recruited for us, HP Hood, they do dairy products. They looked in 3 states. They wanted to move to the southeast and do some distribution in the west and whatever. And we won that competition with them. They purchased land. They've had some setbacks with actually ransomware attack that set them back. I guess I can say that, Greg. And they were immediately down here to apologize because they couldn't start. They had, I think, 52 production lines. And at the time he was down here, I think they were 3 weeks into the ransomware attack. And they had only one or two lines operating, I don't know. And the guy that was here he couldn't even get his email on his company email, that sort of thing. Great company. They've been producing dairy products since before the Civil War. Think about that. Privately owned company coming to Greenville. Sabert, They take wheat straw and make food packaging. How about that for something? Solvay, and I don't want to leave anybody out of that, but everybody knows about Solvay. They're composite materials, International Grains and Cereals. Morgan Steel, there was a lot about that. And I think in 16 and 17, we opened 16 restaurants in Greenville. So kudos to the Board of Development and the job they do. Other projects that we've done, of course, with the census, we had to do redistricting. Back to employees are our most important asset. We did employee raises, and this year we raised COLA for our people. Austin Park had become just an area that needed to be scraped off and restarted. We've done Austin Park with a playground and basketball court. We're working on the parking lot, Graham Park. Farmers Electric just committed to a $35 million campus on their facility out there on I-30 with an administration building that will bring more employees to Greenville. Terry Thomas and I and Summer have been working on the animal shelter to see what we can do with that. We've done some things. Cause for Paws is moving out there. We've got an exercise area. We're doing everything to. And we're working with the county, hopefully, on a partnership where we can expand the animal shelter and develop really a better feel, I guess you might say. It's hard, so many things hard to do. We win library awards, and one of the things that I've had a lot of input of, and other people have too, if you've seen the flag over at Rockwall, I just appointed a committee of myself and Terry Thomas and Tim Cruz. I think he knows a little bit, you think he knows a little bit about flags? And we're going to look at that project and see what we can have a flag of our own like that. That flag is 60 by 80, by the way. So one of the things I always say is growth. It doesn't matter if it's a family that had twins or whatever. Growth consumes cash, and so this city council had been faced with growth, which we're growing, and infrastructure upgrades. And so it's a difficult balance. I want to just say that the last 5 years, we've effectively reduced the tax rate 22 cents. That's 12 cents in actual tax rate reductions, and then the citizens approved about 10 cents in tax rate for street bonds that the city council absorbed. So that's 22 cents that we've done. A couple of years ago, we adopted a tax rate that was a half a cent below the effective rate, which meant nobody would see a tax increase year over year. I don't know that that's ever been done before. We couldn't find it in the archives. And in 2021, we increased taxes on a $100,000 home, $21, while that same home, as you know, is probably appreciating $5,000 to $15,000. Now I want to talk about Greenville's future. I don't have a crystal ball, but when you look at the population, we approached this a couple of ways. John Dixon helped me with some of this. Some of the stuff from the Census Bureau, they keep growth numbers, and Greenville has been growing at the rate of about 5% compounded year over year, which gets you, if you take the census numbers, gets you to about 43,000 in the next, by 2030, 43,000 people. We have 6,600 single-family lots, and we have 1,000 apartments planned or under construction. And if you take those numbers with the number of people per household, number of people per apartment, you also get to about 43,000 people. So, and that doesn't include any new projects. I'm sure there'll be other developers that we have that come in to want to do things, but you can see that in the next 5 to 7 years, depending on the economy, whatever, we could easily be over 40,000 people, maybe 45,000 people by that time. And when you look at the impact on that, this has got a lot of data. I know it's kind of boring, but it shows how it's going to impact our water, our sanitary sewer, our traffic, our electric demand, and we're well within the margin. What we're doing now and what we're going to do in the future with our raw water line, our treatment, our sanitary sewer, all that stuff, we're in the margins of that growth. We're going to be ready for that growth when it comes from an infrastructure standpoint. And I think that's important. One of the things the council just did, we approved a architectural firm to begin looking at a recreation center and a activity center, as well as an expansion of Reese Davis, which we've outgrown Reese Davis. We spent some money on that a few years ago, and it's just awfully busy. So That's what we're working on. This facility will be located, that facility will be located of course, in the sports park. It'll include six basketball courts, 12 volleyball, pickleball courts, a lap pool, walking track, turf things for baseball, soccer, a gym exercise area, sports medicine. Hunt Regional Healthcare is interested in a facility there, a child care facility for people who are there exercising in the gym or whatever. And there'll be a hike and bike trail. Wildcatters has a great development that's going just south of Interstate 30, kind of in the area where Cracker Barrel is in there. And they have some green space there, and they're committed to building a hike and bike trail from their green space. I don't know if you know, but there's a creek that runs through there, their green space, to go to Monty Stratton and then hook up to the sports park. So we'll have that kind of connectivity too. Excited about that and their work here. When you look at that, we did a survey. The City Council spent about 6 months studying this. We did a survey. Many of you probably responded to that survey. We had over 1,800 responses. 81% strongly supported that facility, and 81% were also willing to pay a membership fee. 51% supported that facility, even if it asked for raising taxes. And when I talk about taxes, when you think about this, seniors' taxes are frozen. Brent Quarles tells me that facilities, I've talked to several people, financial advisors, various sports facilities like this are just absolutely killing it in Texas. They're really, really successful. The city of Bryan, I just think, voted $70 million for a park, and it's already booked until next May. So Brent indicates that there's probably at least 50 possible revenue streams that can flow into this to make it successful. Sports leagues and all kinds of things. And it'll become a magnet for the 5-county area. I think it'll be transformative for our region, and all of that, we hope it will stand alone. We hope it'll be revenue neutral. We know it'll be revenue neutral. And that doesn't count any of the trickle down from the sales tax or hot tax or things from people that come out of town to visit here and experience that. So that's some of the studying that we did. We're going to do we're in the process of doing an economic impact study, but it's a very, very positive thing for our community. We're also looking at a hotel convention center that will be located in the area where the Wildcatters are developing, just up the road from Britton Chevrolet. This is how it looks. It's essentially incentive-based, essentially, I don't know where I am. Anyway, okay. It's incentive-based. We have a developer that is interested in doing this from an incentive-based. Typically, the way that happens is cities build a hotel, or a hotel, Flag Hotel will build a hotel. City will sell bonds and build the convention center next to it. This developer wants to do the whole thing based on incentives, so there's essentially no risk to the city. He is looking at a 100-room hotel. I hope Terry Thomas can talk him into 120 rooms. He has a lot of experience with that. And 10 or 12,000 square feet of convention center, which will easily accommodate 600 people in what I showed you before. And the developer will operate this. So I think it's a very, very positive thing for our community. One of the things that I want to work on, and is a passion for several of us on the council, is a regional airport. This is a diamond in the rough for us, and we've never really leveraged what we can do here. We're relocating a road, which we have, I think, on the wait list about 20 people for T-hangers and that sort of thing, and we're going to be able to do T-hangers. We have people, somebody talked to me today about somebody that has a big jet that they want to locate out there. We have people that want their own hangar that have jets there now. We've talked about a concierge service for somebody that could keep maybe 6 or 8 jets together for us. This is something that we really have an opportunity to do. It can even do commercial flights. We've had some discussions about that. Maybe a trip to Las Vegas or a trip to Florida or whatever over the weekend to fly in and out of here. So we have that. As I mentioned and Craig mentioned, the L3 Harris PJC Board of Development partnership to develop aircraft mechanics school. And one of the things we're proud of too is we mentioned Civil Air Patrol. Civil Air Patrol always wanted to be here. It's a tremendous feather in our hat to have them here. And they have, I think now they've grown already in about a year and a half to 40 cadets. And they're looking for a place also to be located at the airport. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, two other things I want to talk about is because maybe some may think I'm getting out of my lane, but one of the things is our future needs for a jail, county jail. And why does this impact Greenville? Because about 35 or 40% of our county's population is in Greenville. And this is going to be much more expensive if we do nothing. Prisoner transfers, we have to take prisoners to West Texas and bring them back here. It's just going to be impossible. There's a lot of focus now on mental health, focus on rehabilitation instead of incarceration. And we really, really need this for our community, and we really need to get behind it. So I don't know what Judge Stovall has planned, but when he does plan it, I hope we can get behind him and support him with that. And then the other thing I want to talk about is GISD. Our kids are as good as the kids anywhere. And we have robotics, solar car, vocational programs, these engineering and medical tracks that they've just worked out with PJC, we just desperately need upgraded facilities. We've got to do this. Our kids deserve better. We're running out of space. We don't have any space to put our kids. Okay, well, that's fine. Thank you very much. But I want to say, why do you think people clamor to get in the University Park, Highland Park school districts? What do you think that does to their property values with all that pressure to get in those schools? It raises property values. Good schools floats all boats. Greg Sims will tell you the second question a prospect asks him is, what about our schools? So everybody, the last time we did this, Aletha and some of the school worked on that themselves with a little help, little financial help. The next time they try, I don't know what Dr. Sharon Booth and the school board hasn't planned, but the next time they do that, everybody that claps needs to meet here, and we need to work on this, and we need to get it passed for our city. We need that for our city. The other thing I want to say is I think sometimes, I don't want to be a junior psychologist, and maybe I'm taking too long, Shelley, I don't know if I am, but sometimes I think take what we have for granted, and I talked to Greg Sims about this, and we got some ideas, and there were probably about 20 ideas of why should we be proud. Look at what we have here that we take for granted. Look at our culture events every year. Our 4th of July. Emerald City is going to be here in next week. We have our 4th of July, or the Cruise Flag Project, Christmas Parade, et cetera, Fiddle Festival, all those things. Think about that. We have the Texan and the GMA. I went to the Oak Ridge Boys the other day, and the only person I knew, and I sat next to him, was Terry Driggers. People came from Arlington, Tyler, everybody around us was from someplace else. It was interesting. So it's a big magnet for our city. L3 Harris, think about L3 Harris. They had the Air Force One and Cabinet airplanes for over 30 years. They build the most sophisticated surveillance and reconnaissance and information collecting systems in the world. And they're right next door. Hunt Regional Healthcare. Just think about them. Landon's Winery, they just won international wine competitions in San Francisco. GEUS, our reliability and our competitive rates. We have award-winning water supply. Our bond averages are good for our city, all of our entities. Any community would appreciate these things, and I think we need to think about that. Our glass is half full. It's not half empty. So I wanted to mention that. And then finally, the reason I have a lot of confidence in our future is because I think we have, and I'm not talking about myself, I'm too old to be on this list, but I want to talk about, first of all, Bobby Stovall. He's doing a great job for our county. Look at all these people on the list. Summer Superlock, Alicia Price was just past president of the Texas Public Power Association. Greg Sims, the same for his organization. Daniel Ray is a tremendous attorney. And just go on down the line. These people are great leaders for our community, and they're going to lead us into the future. So thank you very much. Are we going to have any questions? Okay. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer some questions then. Thank you.
Any questions?
No questions? Good.
If you don't have any questions, is this on? Okay. Maybe you can think about it and ask them after our judge speaks. So next up, we have our Hunt County Judge, State of the County.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. I wish I'd gone first, Shelley. I think I've got the clicker. Yes, ma'am. It was a little easier to get up here this time over last year when I had to crawl from behind the curtain to get up here because I just got through with double knee replacement 10 days prior to it. So hopefully I'm a little more coherent today than I was last year. I don't remember much of that. I think I still was on maybe a few painkillers. Well, today I'm here to talk about the state of the county. And if I can get my papers to stay still. Let me see if I can figure this out. Is it the top button? The top button? The arrow? Okay. I believe that the future of Hunt County is extremely bright. I believe that because the financials of Hunt County are in great shape. I believe this because we're blessed to be in a very fast-growing area of the state of Texas and the United States both. And I believe this because we have planned ahead for current and future growth. And I believe this because of the outstanding volunteers and community leaders, which most everyone is here in this room today that is concerned about our communities and are involved in our communities. And we appreciate every one of you for all the things that y'all do. And there's people just like y'all all over the county and other cities, whether it be Commerce or Lone Oak or Celeste or Caddo Mills, wherever we got outstanding leaders in our county. And we also have a great group of employees at Hunt County. So let's talk a little bit about our finances. In 2019, our tax rate was a little over 51 cents per $100 valuation. In 23, we set a tax rate at a little over 36 cents, a 15-cent decrease in 5 years. Our tax base went from a little over 6 million to a little over 10.5, billion and 10.5 billion. If I'd have showed 2018 on this for tax base, it would have doubled in 6 years. That's how much our tax base has been growing. And if you look at the ad valorem taxes that we collected, you can see in 19 we had about 24 million collected. The next 3 years are pretty consistent of what we had collected every year. The reason for that is that we went to the no new revenue rate every year, or the effective rate. And we did that with a deficient, or can't think of the word, I just lost it. A tax rate that wouldn't cover, or didn't have the tax rate that would cover all our expenses. So how did we cover it? We covered it with the previous year's taxes. Because starting in 2020 with COVID, probably like the city and others, we couldn't spend all of our budget. We had a great demand for vehicles. We had a fleet of vehicles in our county that was 18 and a half years old. We were ordering vehicles and we couldn't get them, so we couldn't spend money. Our jails were full, but our courtrooms weren't open. We weren't having trials. We couldn't spend money on attorneys, jury calls, all the expenses go with it. So we took the money from the previous year we had already taxed, and we kept rolling it forward, so we didn't have to tax everybody again for the same things that we were trying and needing to do. So we've had the ability to do that now for, the 3 years running. We talk about it every year during budget time. We can't do that forever. I mean, it's growing too fast. We, like everybody else, we got deteriorating infrastructure. We got things we have to do to keep the county where it needs to be. So, but we got a good court. Our court works hard at it. We try to keep our finances in line. We're not wasteful with our spending. And we've had a lot of help also for our county sales tax. You can look at 2019 is about 4.7 million in taxes. Last year was 7.3, which not quite doubled. I believe by this year we'll have, have doubled in sales tax. A lot of people think that it's, COVID, everybody stayed home, shopped at home, went out to Walmart and walked around and Home Depot and bought goods. That's some of it, but our sales tax consultants tell us it's because the Wayfair lawsuit was settled. So they no longer collect sales tax at the point of shipment, they collect it at the point of delivery. So all the sales taxes have gone up because all y'all are ordering on Amazon. My wife's probably the biggest part of all this, from ordering on Amazon and getting stuff delivered to the house. So that's a big deal for small counties like us. We're collecting more taxes than we have in the previous years. And the other thing about our finances that keeps us in really great shape is we have almost no, almost no debt. We have, of course, the $24 million bond debt that we have. $12 million of that's not issued, but we have an obligation and approval to issue that. And really, that's the debt that we have. Now, if you look at our financials, we have some debt that shows up, $8 or $10 million of debt that they claim we owe, but it's because of GISD rules, general accepted accounting practices for counties in retirement plans. And they say that we have to have 100% funded retirement plan if 100% of the people working for you retire from the county. Well, that's never going to happen. And so I don't pay a lot of attention to it, but we are at about 84% of that number, which our people that manage our retirement accounts say we're in great shape, we don't have to worry about it, but the government makes us show that number. So it shows that we got some debt that we'll never have to pay. And we have a little other debt that we've had to pay back some sales tax, that industries had overpaid some sales tax, and they asked the state to give it back to them. Now the state's asking us to give it back to them, but the state's been nice to us and gives us like 30 years with no interest on most of that. Some of it's shorter, but most of it's pretty long. So we don't have to worry about that a whole lot. So with all that, I think our finances are in outstanding in shape. As far as a fast-growing area, did that not click? Am I doing something wrong? Oh, there it is. We live in a fast-growing area. We're adjacent to two of the fastest-growing counties in the state, in Collin County and Rockwall County. But Kaufman's not far behind them. So all on our west and south side, we're seeing extensive growth. And some of that's bleeding over into us. And talking to Royce City, they expect to have 7,000 homes built there in the next 3 to 5 years in Hunt County. Caddo Mills tells me that a few years ago they were at 2,000 population. This year they think they'll be at 5,000. 3 to 5 years from now they're going to be at 10,000. They have 4,000 housing units planned over the next 3 to 5 years. They have some commercial projects coming online this year. So all of that is adding to this fast growth that we're experiencing in Hunt County. I showed Josephine, even though it's in Collin County, it is the fastest growing city in Texas by percentage. It grew last year, I think, at 102%. Of course, it only had 2,000 people or something, so it's easy to double with small numbers. But I mention it because their ETJ comes over into Hunt County. And D.R. Horton has built a lot of the Josephine area. They have several hundred acres in Hunt County adjacent to Josephine that is in a mud. And they're currently developing and building in that mud today. And on across the road on the other side of 66, on both sides of 66, really, they're building. So they're creeping over pretty fast towards us, and we're going to continue to get that spillover effect dramatically. So what have we done to plan ahead for all of the growth and all? Well, D is usually outdoes me one up. He handed out the transportation, which I made parts of copies for this report. But Judge Horn in 2010 asked D. Hilton to serve as a chairman for a steering committee for transportation. On this list you'll see, and you can see it on your table, I think Greg Sims may have been there since the inception. I think Randy Tarpley's been on it since the inception, as well as D. Maybe I may be missing one other that's been there all the time. But they've been working for 13 years on this transportation. And what it did was Judge Horn found out through the COG we were the only county, I believe, in the COG that didn't have a transportation mobility plan. And by not having that, that really hurt us. If Collin or Rockwall was trying to bring roads to the county line, we were going to have to match what they did. So by us doing it, it allows us to deal with them to match, like Collin County was doing theirs at the same time we were doing some transportation plans. And so we had to agree to match each other. So it gives us a lot of help in deciding where we want our roads to be. And also, the Transportation Committee has a mission statement, which is in their pamphlet, which you can read. I'm here to tell you they've not only met it, but exceeded it. This group, led by Dee, has done a fabulous job. We hear it all the time. I believe Dee got a call from our association wanting to maybe do some interviews or something with our association, because we're one of few, if not the only one in the state of Texas that's this aggressive out doing transportation. And what the public voted the $24 million transportation bond in 2015 was so that we could get out in front of growth, and that by us putting money into the pot, TxDOT would fund more money. And it worked. I think it exceeded everybody's expectations. I'm going to skip, I think, the next couple of slides. You can see that and read it in the pamphlet. I will mention that, the 6-lane, we're planning on 6-lane on I-30 all the way eventually to the Hopkins County line. We've finished, I guess, 90% or more of the work between Monty Stratton and the Rockwall County line. This year, TxDOT is going to start from Monty Stratton east to 24, working on 6 lanes, one-way frontage roads, and fixing the issues as we go east. And out of the projects, they've got all of the interchanges, I now believe, finally approved and fully designed. We have let the contract for the improvements to Monty Stratton, relocation of interchange at 1570, and the interchange at 1903. This is the look at 1570. You can tell that the overpass has been moved to the east 200 or 300 feet to line up with the north 1570 road, and on the south it'll be reconfigured. There's new right-of-way been purchased, and it'll tie back into existing 1570 in a little different configuration. During construction, this intersection is going to be closed part of the time because of the overpass that's there currently. It's going to have to be torn down and dealt with before they finish the new one. So For traffic reasons, you're going to want to be paying attention to that if you're traveling particularly from the southeast part of the county. You might want to take a different route. But they're also doing 1903. So Monty Strat and 1570 and 1903 are all going to be done at the same time. They're all being done in order to keep traffic moving as smoothly as they can with the least interruptions. And they think that's the best way to do it on this project is to keep them all going at the same time. Now this intersection, this bridge, it will always be open because they're not moving the overpass. They're just making it wider. So that this one will stay open. And then in 24, on Highway 24 in Commerce, that one's ready to let. We'll be ready hopefully for construction as soon as we can get it on the program in the next couple of years. We anticipate construction. And what we're doing in Commerce between Live Oak and Culver Street, that's a divided highway. It looks like you're driving cross country. It's a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit through there, but everybody drives about 70. They've had several accidents. They've had a couple of pedestrian hit. One student was killed crossing it a few years ago. So it's all about trying to make safety. So the theory and the design is to make it look like a city street, curb and gutter, pull it in, make it closer so you don't feel like you're out in the country and you can drive 70 miles an hour. And there'll be features there to hopefully to make that slow up. Plus we're adding a traffic light at University Drive where you turn in to go to the administrative building, and they broke ground a few months ago for a new welcoming center, and that will be open. And so at that corner, there's going to be another traffic light, again, further reducing speed. People don't have as far to go and they can't pick up as much speed, so hopefully that will help with those issues. Not turning. Oh, there it goes. So we're talking about the $24 million that we committed, of which we've only spent on this, at this report time, $6.6 million. Today we probably spent around 10, getting close to it anyway, of the 12 million we've issued. But the number over here, oh, shouldn't have done that. Can you take it back for me? The slide, and it's in your pamphlet. The money we're spending less than $10 million. We got over $360 million in funding committed by federal and state funds to be able to build all of these roads. It's the number right here on the right-hand side. So we've leveraged the money tremendously well. A lot better than I think anybody would have thought. It may level itself out over time, but for right now, it's done everything and more than what we expected it to do. Okay, the thoroughfare plan, it's a little different than the transportation plan. The transportation plan dealt with own system roads only, which means they're maintained by the state. The thoroughfare plan is a plan we put together using Freese and Nichols, who does most of our larger engineering projects. And we wanted a thoroughfare plan not just for our own system roads, but for all roads in Hunt County and future roads we're going to need. Currently, we don't have any east-west major roads between 276 and I-30. We've got a couple planned now to go across there. And north of 380, in the north side of the county, we have no roads that go east and west all the way across the county. And that's going to get real important as time goes along. They're building a bridge, or building a lake, Ralph Hall, north of Ladonia. And they're also already opened the Bodark Lake up in northeast Fanning County. So some of that traffic may go up and hit 121 and be able to get over, but some of this traffic going over by Ladonia, they're going to be coming through our county. And we also are asking because of those lakes, we're asking the TxDOT to move the thoroughfare when they get to it of 24, to move it east to 513 coming out of Lone Oak, because they can straighten it and go straight over to 24, and that goes straight on up north to 50 and goes straight up to Ladonia. So traffic that's coming from the southeast in Hunt County can shoot up 513 and go north and hit 224 and go up into Fannin County where those two new lakes are going to be, and we think that could be a real popular situation, and that we think traffic would be better served if we had that put together. The new subdivision rules, they tie together with the thoroughfare plan extremely well. The state law tells us what we can do with subdivisions, and it's not much. We don't have a lot of control over it. But one thing that we do get advantage of is under state law, we can only ask for and require a developer to give us a 60-foot right-of-way for a road unless you have a thoroughfare plan. And if you got a thoroughfare plan, then they have to match your plan. So where we've got 120, 150-foot right-of-ways planned, as a developer is putting in a subdivision, he has to give us that right-of-way. And the real purpose of this thoroughfare that I didn't mention is what we're trying to do is get more out in front of the growth and pick corridors so that we can get from one part of the county to the other before they go put subdivisions, and we don't have to go out and go through the middle of an existing subdivision and buy houses or knock down a business. So we're trying to define open areas that won't be developed in, so we don't have to go by later and adversely affect somebody's private property. So if we can control this early, it will make, the growth of the county a whole lot simpler and a lot less expensive, whether it be local dollars buying that right away or state or federal dollars. It's still going to save the public a lot of money by us doing that. So then planning ahead for other things, as Jerry mentioned, Mayor Ransom mentioned, and thank you for the plug on the jail. It is desperately needed. We've had this talk several times. I've talked at different groups. Unfortunately, our bond issue November 21 failed. We currently have an advisory committee working on it now. Each commissioner appointed 2 people, and I appointed 2. We got a 10-member board working on trying to figure out what our next steps are. And we're working towards it. And for those that haven't seen the pictures before, I'll show you just 2 or 3 pictures of the jail and why we're part of our problem. This is where we had to dig under the building at one time, and you can see that the rebar is on the bottom of the concrete on the ground, not in the middle of the concrete, to give it strength. That's why we got floors cracked all over the place. It's totally inferior construction. We have to jackhammer out concrete in the building because the movement of the soil is pulling sewer pipes apart and causing water leaks under the building. Almost every time we create a hole in that floor, that rebar is on the ground. So the structural integrity of that jail is really not good at all. If you can look at the top part of those pictures where there's some, some plates bolted to the ceiling and the wall, that's along the east wall of the jail, and it's connecting the ceiling, the roof of the jail, to the east wall, because that was put up before they opened the jail, and the wall was already separating from the roof. So they got it pulled back together, and then they braced it with these plates all the way across the east end of the jail. And I'd show this one because I just like it. It's ingenious. We got an inmate. We use a lot of inmates. Gives them something to do, and they get some time off for serving by giving some work. But that dark spot up at the top, that crack was so wide, that's a blanket they stuck in there so they would have something to attach the plaster to fix the crack. That might have been a more expensive way to do it. Might not have been a way I'd have done it, but it's a pretty ingenious way that they solved the problem. But I say all the time, we buy lipstick by truckloads because we put lipsticks on this pig every day. I mean, it's just it is a mess. Y'all probably heard me say it before. We don't fix a water leak a day. We fix water leaks every day. We don't unstop a sewer problem a day. We unstop sewer problems a day. It's a mess. The expense of keeping it up is pretty extreme. County offices in space. Last 4 years, I've talked about that when we get the jail built, that, it has all of the water problems in it, sewer problems, and the sheriff's part of the jail is still pretty solid, and not having all the water and sewer problems, I thought we could occupy it for housing our office space requirements that we need. But, we're 4 years past that time now, and we're probably 3 to 4 years further out there before we can get the jail up and open with the new sheriff's office. Puts us 8 years further down the road, and an old building, at some point, that building's not going to be worth trying to retrofit it to use it for anything, because it's just going to be, I'm afraid to be throwing good money after bad, and we're getting to the point that our space for operating our county is almost as critical as building a new jail. We got an HR department that's got 3 people in it, that's probably in a 500 square foot office space. They need privacy when talking to employees. They don't really have it. They have to come to another office to have private meetings. They use my office to onboard people because they don't have a conference room table or anything to do it with. And we have almost 400 employees. We probably need 2 or 3 more people in HR. We just have no place to put them. Our IT department has grown because of COVID. We have cameras and Zoom set up for every courtroom and 2 in the jail, and then two JP's offices set up to handle Zoom hearings and all. And that's just, we've had to add new IT people because somebody's always having, if y'all are like me, I'm always having a problem with my computer. Of course, I don't know much about computers, but we now have 4 IT people, and none of them are in the same office. We got the head of it's in his office where all the computers are. We got one in the middle of the clerk's office. We got another one that's almost in a closet, and then we got one that's in the commissioner's office. And so the continuity of that's not good. They can't communicate well, and we've really got to find some space. And we get complaints. The jurors don't like coming downtown to the courthouse. There's no parking, hard to get into the courthouse. And our county clerk tells me that, they probably get half of the traffic. It just comes in off the street, and they complain. There's no parking. It's too hard to get into. So, we're going to have to look at something to solve some of these solutions and get a solution for some of these problems. And then building maintenance and preservation. This is a window at the courthouse. There's a bunch of them just like that. You can see all the rust on it. A lot of them don't function anymore. They won't open and close. If you open it, you can't get it back closed. They're solid metal. There's a lot of rust. The only way to really fix them is to take them out and almost rebuild them. They have to be repaired because of the damage. Being a historical building, they won't let us put new windows in with a historical look. We asked them if we could build, since we're taking them out, if we could add a little and make the edges of the frame a little wider so we could put thicker glass in, or maybe some insulated type glass in, and say, no, you got to go back with the same glass that's in there. So we're not getting any benefit from that. And in the price, you may have read it in the paper, is $2.6 million for replacing all the windows in the courthouse on the first 4 floors. We're not even 5 and 6 we're not doing because we don't occupy them. But 4 through 6, we desperately need to get those done. And we're still trying to decide what we'll do. Here's one that is a mock-up that we had done, and you can see that's what it would look like if we redid them all. And we've got 2 done. One each by a different contractor. The first contractor did one. He never got it back in there correctly. It never would meet approval of our architect or the historical commission, so we moved on to somebody else. So again, I think, you know, the outlook and future of Hunt County is bright. Again, we're blessed to have people like us in this room, community leaders, and we have, you know, the great county employees. And, you know, I know it's wrong. You shouldn't talk about single out people, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I apologize to any of the staff, elected officials, that if I step on toes or whatever. But we got great elected officials. We got some great department heads. But we got a couple of people that really stand out. And one of them's Terry Jones, our new sheriff. He's been there 2 years. If you don't know Terry, get to know him. You can see him because he's always out on the street somewhere. He's running 24/7. I don't think he ever sleeps. He's made a real difference in our law enforcement. He's been out riding with his deputies, showing them how he wants it done. He's working with our prosecutors. They're getting better files turned in so they can prosecute the crimes to the extent they need to be prosecuted. He's really working well with the courts and our prosecutors, and it's really a good situation right now. And I'm just afraid Terry's running so hard, he's going to have a heart attack on us, and that won't be a good thing for anybody. But he needs to slow up a little bit, but he is doing a fabulous job. And then there's one other person that I have to recognize, and that's Commissioner Harrison. I wasn't expecting him to be here today, but Steve's done a great job as a commissioner, there's no doubt, but he's a great human being. Steve, it's going to be hard. I'm sorry. In a year ago, January, I guess, Chamber of Commerce had their banquet, and they gave Steve the Exemplary Humanitarian of the Year award. He got that because during Winter Storm Uri, he was out delivering water, firewood, doing whatever he had to, doing wellness checks on his community around Commerce, and made a world of difference to the people over there. And so they gave him this award, and Steve Harrison's style, he got up and said, my name may be on this, but my people deserve this. And, you know, what a great guy. But even more so, nobody knew it but him, but he had already started a process to be an organ donor. A young man came to his door wanting to put a sign in the yard to save his dad's life. And it touched Steve. And he noticed on the sign that he was the same blood type. So he started the process with Baylor and became a perfect match. And in May of 22, he gave an organ. So a young man could have a father. And I just don't know how you get any better than that. And that puts an exclamation mark on what I said to start with. I'm positive the future in Hunt County is bright. Thank y'all for your service to the community and what y'all do. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for allowing me to serve as your county judge.
This video has been brought to you by GEUS. GEUS is your community-owned provider for electric, internet, cable TV, and true local programming.